All right, thank you everybody for joining our session here where we're going to be talking about the newest member of the Clover family called Clover Go. As many of you may have started to hear a little bit about this, we're glad that you could join us to, of course, learn more about what Clover Go is and how it's going to work with your merchants. Now, today's session is being recorded for our agent playback and training purposes. By staying on the line, First Data does reserve the right to record this session for those purposes. And if you disagree with the recording of today's session, you may disconnect at this moment. All right? Hopefully none of you disconnect because we're pretty excited about what we have to talk about here today when we talk about and kind of speak about Clover Go. All right? So let's start off with what do we hope to get out of our session today? Well, of course, learn more about the Clover Go products. We're definitely going to talk about some of the benefits there. But this isn't just going to be about the product itself. It's also going to be recognizing where this fits with our merchants. What are our sales opportunities out there? You know, we've done that with a lot of our Clover solutions up to this point. So Clover Go, you know, join the family. It's no different. We're gonna discuss a little more about where Clover was a good fit, maybe some things that Clover Go can't do today, and just give that expectations to our potential clients and our merchants, you know, how Clover Go will fit in their business. And of course, we'll wrap up today also discussing, you know, where will you get some of these additional resources, what's coming now, what should be coming soon. We'll talk about all of that here during our time together. So before we get into Clover Go, we do want to talk about why. Why do we need something new that you can download into your devices, or we need a new mobile solution? Well, we do have a lot of those, and we do support a lot of those types of solutions today, but not very many of them offer EMV support. All right, we know that with October coming up here, the liability shift with that EMV technology wanting to be in place for most of our merchants, when we talk about a solution that we download into mobile devices and use that as a way of accepting payments, there really isn't very much out there today that is EMV compliant. So first and foremost, yes, you will hear quite a bit as far as in the features and benefits that Clover Go is EMV ready, okay? But it wasn't just a matter of providing that service, right, with a new solution. We also had to take a look at, well, what else could we also offer our merchants? Because we've done the card swipe, we've done the app solution before. How do we step that up a little bit? And I think with Clover, we've done that when we take a look at the traditional offerings between terminals and full-featured point-of-sale systems. Clover Station, we introduced it, kind of bridged that gap for that merchant that you know, wasn't willing to pay so much for one of those POS systems, but wanted something more than a terminal. And then a few months ago, we introduced Clover Mobile and Clover Mini. Once again, kind of bridging that gap between merchants who might be on some of that older technology with their standalone terminals to say, well, we can get you into new technology, and you can have it as a terminal equivalent to start off with, but got that ability to continue to grow that. And it only seemed to make sense that we would do that with our next version of an application. It, of course, can download into your own device and be able to start processing transactions. So that's the go forward that you see here on this slide, and it helps to better explain some of the other things that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as far as the conversion process of what we currently had up to this point and what we'll see going forward. So what is Clover Go? Well, we mentioned EMV already, right? It is an EMV-enabled bring-your-own-device payment acceptance offering. For many of us over the past few years, we probably have seen a lot of these different versions of our own that we support, even competitors who have come into this space. First Data Mobile Pay was our most recent offering for this type of device. So it's that type of equivalent. Supports credit, signature debit transactions. Beyond that, we start getting into some of that EMV technology that you're going to see here with The chip and mag stripe provides the ability also to go in and record check and cash transactions from really anywhere within the U.S. It is a hardware piece and a software app. Now, the major part of the hardware, the merchants are already going to have. The hardware piece we're talking about is that little piece you see here on the screenshot off to the right. That is the Clover Go reader. It has a card swipe and a card insert. Right? And this goes into the audio port of either an iPhone, an Android phone, or their tablet versions. Right? As far as acceptability on devices, it really is very much on the operating system, not necessarily so much on the device itself. But if those devices are Apple devices and they're operating on the operating system iOS 7.1 or higher, they're good to go for Clover Go. And for Android devices, it's operating system 4.1 and above, right? And for most of us out there with mobile devices, we know that whenever those new versions come up, we probably get reminded quite often on our own devices, hey, time to upgrade. So I think a lot of our potential merchants out there will already be ready and set to be able to start with Clover Go there. So what are some of our benefits here? Well, you know, a lot of these benefits we saw with a lot of our predecessors, right? So a lot of this can be kind of comparable. I won't go over this entire list, but I think what I would like to point out is some of the things that, you know, Clover Go is a little different from what we've seen in the past. About halfway down this list, you see the third or fourth bullet point on here. Merchant controls inventory, employees, tax rates, and other functions through the Clover dashboard, right? So it's sort of a two-part piece here with Clover Go, very similar to what we see with Station, Mobile, and Mini. There's a place, you know, dashboard where we can go in and set up a lot of the things that we're going to do with that particular solution or that hardware. And then we go to the software piece, and it lets us, you know, do what we want to do with it, run transactions, you know, run our business, right? Same sort of concept here. I do need to note, though, that Clover Go will look and feel slightly different from the rest of the Clover family on how that works. But you know, if you guys are familiar with Clover, this should start to feel familiar that, yes, okay. So they're going to go out to the dashboard, they can set up an inventory, they can set up their employees and so forth, and then that translates over through the cloud to the app that I'm using on my mobile device, and those things can be adjusted and updated without skipping a beat. All right? Every transaction is protected with TransArmor, and we've got, of course, our 24/7 customer service for our Clover support, and that is the same group of folks that we've had, you know, for the rest of the Clover family, a mobile, you know, Mobile, Mini, Station. That's the same group that's going to be helping out our Clover Go folks. So they know the Clover system very well. So how does it work? Some of the basic features here we'll kind of run through. As we mentioned, it is a piece of hardware, the card reader, and a downloadable piece into that device, the software piece. Now, the card reader is capable of handling up to, you know, 100+ transactions, and that 100+ really depends on how often is the merchant running transactions. If they're back-to-back, you can actually get quite a few, but if, you know, you run a transaction and then you let the system, you know, let the app power down, and then you power it back up again, you know, that powering up and powering down, that can eat at the battery a little bit. So about 100 transactions. The nice thing about that is that, you know, the reader is rechargeable, and you can keep recharging it while using it. All right, it does have its own separate power source from the device that you connect it to. Now, as far as devices and how that connects to the outside world, really honestly, the app and the reader could care less what they're connected to and how that communicates to the outside world. So if all the merchant has available is a Wi-Fi connection, like a Wi-Fi hotspot, Clover Go doesn't care. It'll be able to connect out and do what it needs to do. Cellular networks, doesn't matter who the carrier is. All right, we don't have any specifications on which carrier the merchant might have and might be using out there. Okay. Activate with Clover credentials. Very similar, once again, to what we typically see with our station, mobile, and mini folks. So when we get them signed up with a Clover account, we verify their email address, let them set up a password. In that process, they also set up a PIN number so they use to log in and out. The same sort of system here with Clover Go. Okay. And at the bottom here, you can see some of the other types of transactions, of course, that will work. Swiped and keyed, although we hope that most of our merchants will utilize the reader to swipe their cards and also to accept EMV transactions there. There's also ways that merchants can go in and record check and cash transactions. Now, it's important to note that right now, things like telecheck and ECA and check acceptance through the app itself isn't there yet, right? But if the merchant is accepting these forms of payments and say, they want to get some kind of reporting by the end of the day to show what's my cash versus credit versus check transactions, they'll be able to do that now. Some additional features in there. We'll talk about orders here in just a few moments and how a merchant actually goes through running a transaction with Clover Go. But orders can be created quickly by adding custom items, or merchants can also go in and set up an inventory list so they can pick and choose from the things that they sell often to start off their orders. Okay? Merchants can view transaction history. There's flexible taxation on item levels that can be done. Tips can be configured here as well. There's also duplicate transaction prevention here. Important when you're thinking about a mobile device that can connect both Wi-Fi or cellular. And that works really well if a merchant's out or they're out in a location where, if you ever look down at your phone and you got 5 bars, you're pretty good, right? But if you get 1 or 2 bars, you're like, I can connect, but I don't know how reliable that's going to be. That duplicate transaction prevention can help in those situations where connection's not that great and we think the transaction went through, but we want to make sure if for some reason the system picks it up, it's going to confirm with the merchant, are you sure you want to run that again? Nice headache preventer for a lot of our merchants out there, especially out in the field. Okay. And right now, the way that customers get their receipts when they're working with a merchant with Clover Go is by text or by email. There currently today, right now, is no support for printing, but that might be something later on down the road. But it kind of makes sense, though, if you're really working with a mobile solution out there that you really don't want to be carrying a separate printer, right? We've got our phone. We can run a transaction real quick. It's just easier a lot of times just to get, that phone number for a text or an email address to send that customer receipt. Plus, it's good for the environment, too, right? It's green. Not using as much paper there. We also have with Clover Go multi-user and multi-MID supports, all right? And this could be one or the other, or you could have a situation where you might have both, okay? Let's talk about multi-user first, okay? This would be where you have a business that has one merchant account and maybe even only one device, but they've got multiple users that want to be able to log in and log out, run transactions, do what they need to do in that Clover Go app. And I know we're thinking a lot of times about this being on a phone, but think about this on like an iPad or Android tablet. We got a bigger screen. We've got really a portable, Clover Go solution that we can really kind of take with us, and we can allow multiple users to be on there. Now, the good example that we have here, that would fit this type of scenario is think about a mall kiosk, a small merchant that they're not really going to invest in a lot of hardware right now, but they have, one device for their store that they can run transactions on, but they maybe have 4 or 5 employees, all right? By using the Employees app out there on the Clover dashboard, this business owner could go in and set up each one of their employees. Each employee could have their own login, and that way, whenever, at the end of the day, the owner wants to find out, which one of my employees sold what, throughout the day, they can get that kind of reporting. They can find that out, right? It sets each user apart, and of course, each user can have their own roles, right? Right now, the Clover Go app supports roles for admin and employee. As you can imagine, employees are going to run transactions, right? Admin has, all the rights of, making decisions on tip adjustments, refunds, and stuff like that. The multi-MID support, though, is something somewhat new here with our mobile solutions like this. This scenario might be one person, one device, but multiple accounts, right? All right. It's a shared login with a single email address, but each one might have their own separate PIN number. And the screenshot that you see here on the right is an example of where I might have one merchant who logs in, and they might have maybe different stores or different businesses that they might pull from, and they can do all of that right from the app. Okay? Each merchant account, they can all be listed there, and they can pick and choose before they start a transaction of where that transaction will start. Okay. Now this slide's also a good one to come back to and take a look at, and you might even take this right out of the presentation as something you might look over when you're going out there, giving us an idea of where do we start in the conversation. If Clover's what you're going to start off with offering to your merchants, a whole line of questions, of course, comes along with, which one of these columns is really going to fit my merchant best? Is it Station, Mobile, Mini, or Clover Go? All right. And some of the things down that Clover Go column we've already talked about. One of the other ones I wanted to point out to you, or a few of the other ones I wanted to point out to you here with Clover Go, is with EMV, NFC, the contactless payments and PIN debit. EMV, of course, we've heard that already, right? We're definitely supporting that, and we want to make sure that our merchants know about this with Clover Go. But as far as contactless and PIN debit, not yet. All right. That's once again something that's possibly on the roadmap, but not for Clover Go quite yet. Right? We talked about the no printer option, right? We're emailing or texting those receipts out to the customers. But I do want to point out one of these columns here, or one of these rows, I should say, that needs a little closer scrutiny. We definitely will cover this here in the next few slides, and that is, what are the software versions? All right? One might think, well, Clover Go shouldn't really, there might be some differences in there, what that will look like. But when we introduced Mobile and Mini, we introduced two different software options, 2000 and Pro. Now, Station really was only ever on Pro, and that remains that way today. But with Mobile or Mini, your merchants start out with 2000, and they decide when they're ready to graduate up to the Pro software, which gives them full access to the entire inventory or library of all the different applications that we have out there, and really truly makes it more of a business solution, not just a card swipe. Right? Clover Go will be on Pro as well. Okay, and it is very much like Clover Station in that there is no choice. All right, there's no way to upgrade or downgrade like you do with Mobile or Mini. Merchants that are going to go in with Clover Go, they will be on the Pro version of the software. But that's about the only similarities between Go and Station have, is that they're locked into that Pro software. After that, we will talk a little bit about the billing and the pricing here in the next few slides as to what that looks like. And you might be a little surprised about that. All right. So review this slide as you guys look through the presentation, and you can get a full comparison of the way that Clover Go connects to the outside world, whether it's fully portable or not. Absolutely. All right. We'll continue on here. We'll start off now. We'll start. So let's actually take a look at the app itself as to what the merchant experience will look like. And we'll talk about this from, the time that a merchant will activate for the first time, going through a sale, and even possibly, doing something with that sale, either looking that up or even possibly issuing a refund. For our first screenshot, we have an example of what the login looks like. Okay? And it's very simple. Email and password, which during the activation process, that's what the merchant will go through, and they'll set up that password. They'll confirm their email address, and then they'll also set their 6-digit PIN number. Okay? Once they log in, the first-time activation, there's a setup wizard that will walk the merchant through getting everything configured, ready for their first sale. And one of the first things it'll ask for configuration there, you see in the second screenshot, is taxes. All right? There are multiple taxes that a merchant can set up in the configuration process, and they can name those taxes. And they can pick and choose those during an order or a transaction, or they could also go in and put in their own custom tax at the time of the transaction. So stuff that they can do here, but they can certainly change that and adjust that as they need when they move along there. They'll also, during that first activation, get a setup for their reader, right? And it's going to confirm that the reader's connected. You'll see there in the last screenshot that the app will ask the merchant for permission to utilize the microphone for the app as well. And this will really kind of walk that merchant through and getting set up and ready to go, ready to start their first transactions, right? So no guesswork, no reading a lengthy how-to manual online. That's going to kind of take the merchant through that. And at that point, once they're set up and they've activated, they're ready to start a transaction. Now, part of the configuration process may involve also setting up an inventory, but it's not required. All right? As you see here in the first screenshot on the left, I can go ahead and jump right into a sale here. I can go ahead and add custom items if I need to. If I have made an inventory list, I can go ahead and pick and choose that off of my list. I just touch it right there on the screen, and then I've got my inventory, and I start picking and choosing what I want to add to this order. Okay? And you see over here on the right-hand side, there's an example of when, if I have a list of different taxes, depending on where I'm running my transactions, right, I can pick and choose those off of this list. Sliding that little activation right to the right will say, yes, this is the one that I want to use on this sale. And I can go ahead and finish up my transaction. Now, we don't have any additional screenshots of what happens from here, but it's very typical of accepting a payment on an application like this. There will be a screen that will come up and confirm the transaction. There will be a place where the customer will sign with their fingers, signature capture right on the screen, and that's also where the merchant will want to get that information, either text or email, that receipt out to their customer. Okay, and hopefully that happens a lot of times for that merchant throughout their day. They're going to accept a few transactions as they go along. Now, what happens if they want to go back and review a transaction? Well, they can do that. Right? There's a way that they can pull up their transaction list, and they can sort through that list. They can choose a date range. They can let the app, by default, just show them a list of the most recent 100 transactions. And that would let the merchant go back and take a look at it. If the customer said, I didn't get my receipt, they can go back. You see down here at the very bottom, they can go ahead and send receipt or resend receipt. But for those that have the admin role, right, they have the ability to go in and do a refund, right? So at this point, we could review the transaction, but admins have the ability then to go in and perform a refund, okay? And you can see some of the screenshots there to the right showing that, yep, it's going to confirm that you do want to do a refund, all right, and it'll confirm that the refund has been issued, okay? Note that refunds that have been done within 24 minutes of the original transaction time will be processed as a reversal, almost like a void, okay? And that's one of the things that you might get questions on, and you might have merchants might be asking about. So, well, I don't see an option like I do on my terminal to do a void, and that's part of that streamlining process to say, well, we don't want to boggle all the features down with different functionality, but if you go in to do a refund, if it's within a short time frame of the original transaction, it's going to treat it like a void. Okay? There's really no true void button anywhere on the app. It's review it. If you have the ability to do a refund, you can do so. All right, so that was a quick glimpse at what the merchant will see, and that's just the app itself. We haven't really taken a look at, well, what's the configuration process look like? What do we do to set that up? And that's really a lot through the Clover dashboard. It's the Employees app where they can go in and add the employees and set those roles. It's the Inventory app to go in and set up that inventory. And it's things like the Orders application where we can go in and review those transactions on the web dashboard. Before we go into some of the sales strategy, we've got our next knowledge check here. I see some of you guys have already started voting in there, so good. All right. All right, multitasking as well over on your side. So let's take a look at this. So what do we need to know to sell Clover Go? All right, there's some things we definitely want to make sure we recognize here and know more about. And before I get into these next few slides, there's two ways of thinking about how do I go out there and sell Clover Go. And it really depends on, well, who am I selling it to, of course, but what are they using today? All right. The first example that I'll use is, well, other predecessors, even our own previous solution like First Data Mobile Pay, how does Clover different? How is Clover different? All right. Well, let's take a look down on this slide. Where are some of those differentiators? Sorry, guys. If you look down like the activation and security, some of these things we've seen on some of the competitors and even our own solutions in the past. With the PIN-based login, the first-time setup as a walkthrough, the TransArmor data protection, all great to be there. It makes it fall more in line with the rest of the Clover family there as well. Under the users and admin section here that you see on this slide, important things that I wanted to point out, and we've seen already, is that we've got unlimited amount of sub-users under one terminal ID number. So if that means the number of employees that I want to add to that one device, or if I have many devices that I want to use Clover Go on, it is unlimited. It really is. There's no set limit right now for how many devices a merchant could bring under one merchant account to have Clover Go up and running on. And the multi-merchant capability then also adds another level of dynamics so that we really truly do have many different scenarios where Clover Go could make a good fit for a merchant. We talked about the flexible taxation over there on the right. The big one I think on this list that we see over there is that, of course, EMV chip and signature with the magstripe capability there. That EMV is going to be a big one, now and in the coming months. And then the other one I wanted to point out on this list is down here at the bottom, because Clover Go is a member of the Clover family, it will have some access to the Clover apps. All right, we haven't really talked about that quite yet. We've been treating Clover Go as an app by itself, but remember, with our other Clover devices out there, we have a whole app store today. Over 100 different applications out there that a merchant can utilize to help grow their business. Will Clover Go have that capability? Well, since Clover Go is on the Pro software by default, the answer is yes. Some of those apps are going to make useful sense to a lot of those merchants. Some of the ones that we've already started to be added to a list, and the list is coming, but some of those that we know already are going to tie very well to our Clover Go merchants are things like Perka for loyalty programs and rewards. We've got Insights for a deeper look at our business, and things like, if you have employees, Homebase, yes. Homebase has kind of made their presence on really just about every version of the rest of our Clover solutions out there. It'll be there on Clover Go as well. Be looking for a list, though, more inclusive list here coming soon that should give us a better idea. When we want to go out there and sell Clover Go, we can start telling these, letting our merchants know that we're going to have access to these other applications as well that will also help you run your business. As far as positioning, some of the ideal merchants, mobile, of course. All right, that's key. They don't have to be mobile, right? But that's where it would seem to make the most sense out there. Merchants who have employees out there already in the field with devices, that seems to make the in most sense, right? Because they've already got the hardware out there today. They already be using a solution like this today, but they're looking for more, right? Maybe something that the owner can be back at home base, right? Going into the web dashboard and making the changes when they need to, updating things, kind of keeping an eye on, what kind of transactions and sales are being made. But those folks out in the field have the app and can, of course, accept transactions and be able to pick from the inventory and so forth that we've already discussed. Tow truck drivers, locksmiths, a hair salon, with multi-user, multi-merchant ID number capability. This could be where a salon may have one device in their store, but they could let each one of the stylists have their own merchant account. Very similar to what we do with the FD300 today. Now we're talking about, we've got a member of the Clover family can do that as well. One that's not on this list.
Am I on mute?
Okay. So here's also another comparison. We saw one, as far as what can each one of the Clover members do. This ties in more with, okay, so who am I really going to offer these? What part of the Clover family solution? Which ones do these fit with typically the best merchants? Now, it may not always work out this way, but what we found is that, with Station, service, small, full service and small restaurants, medium-sized retailers, that's where Clover Station, tends to fit best. And there could be a combination, right, of Clover Station, Mobile, Mini, and even Go, right? Mini, was built to introduce a merchant to the Clover technology, but, maybe at the pace where the merchant says, well, I'm not quite ready for, a full application market. I just want something that does like what my old terminal used to do. Mobile and Mini were both designed to do that. Mini is countertop. Mobile really is truly mobile. And then you got that Clover Go, which I think for a lot of your merchants out there, when you ask the question, do you have a mobile need? That's where the question is you're going to narrow down, does the merchant need Clover Mobile or do they need Clover Go? All right. Things like, do I want to be able to print out my receipt? Do I need that? All right. Do I need to be able to accept other forms of payment, just more than credit and signature debit? That's where Clover Mobile might be a better fit. Clover Go, if the merchant doesn't need those, they just need very minimal, be able to accept a few transactions out there, credit, signature debit for now, but that be EMV ready with that type of solution. Then that might be where Clover Go will fit. Remote sales, field sales, things like that. Now, of course, we've done this with really pretty much all of the Clover solutions to date, and that is setting that expectation of what it can do and what it can't do. We talk about the things that it can do, but what can't Clover do today at launch? I won't read through this entire list here, guys. This will be something you guys can come back and take a look at and review. But know that it's quite possible these things are on the roadmap to be included. We don't know exactly when or if these things will be added. It's very similar to when we introduced Clover Station and Mobile and Mini, that there were some things at launch that it didn't do, but they had plans for it to be added. Now, I can tell you that there are plans that upon release, before the end of the year, there's planned 2 additional application updates for Clover Go. I don't know what's included in those updates, but that's pretty common with an application that we can download into a device that is going to see updates. We saw that a lot with First Data Mobile Pay. All right, and some of these things that we see on this list, we might think, oh, Mobile Pay supports that today. When will Clover Go? It'll take some time, right? A lot of it has to do with the development, how that will work, and how do we keep that secure with the app. But these are things that, right now, set that expectation to the merchant that, no, Clover Go won't do these things, but could it? In the future, possibly. All right, it's not always a good idea to try to sell on what it could do in the future, because we don't know when that'll happen if the merchant has an immediate need for some of this. But just something for us to look forward out there and know that, you know, we have a list like this. We know that these are some things that merchants would like to have in this application, and some of this we will work on. There's some other red flags to also look out there for. Barcode scanning, invoice numbers. Some of these things that you see on this list also might be indicators that, you know, maybe Clover Mobile is a better fit than Clover Go. It might be more of a commitment for the merchant to get into that new piece of hardware, but it may fit their needs better than just, you know, you've got your own device, let's just download this app in there. Some of the other stuff are there, reporting, like in-app reporting, miscellaneous, demo mode, push notifications. Those things are other red flags of merchants saying, well, I'd like to be able to do that, you know, and I'd like to be able to see that. I would imagine that we'll see some of these things relatively early on in the first few updates, but, you know, they're not there today. So keep an ear on that whenever you're talking to your merchants. Now, I do want to kind of come back to this Go is always on Pro topic, just to make sure that we also understand what that could mean to our mobile and mini merchants. Now, Clover Station, if a merchant has Clover Station and they want to add Go to it, there shouldn't be any problem because, right, Station's already on Pro, and Go is going to be on Pro. So there's nothing different that would happen there. And Go does not have a monthly service fee like Station does, okay, or like mobile and mini merchants upgrade to, okay. So let's start off with the first part of this slide, just to make sure we all understand. If the merchant has mobile or mini only, and they are only on the 2000 plan, they are going to need to upgrade to Pro for Clover Go to work. I know that there's Go's and Pros going back and forth there, but make sure that you understand that. If you're working with a merchant out there that has mobile or mini today, and they also want to get the Clover Go application and download that into a few of their devices, if they're on the 2000 plan, they're going to need to upgrade to Pro, and they would do that through the Clover App Market, right? They go onto their mobile or mini, they go into the app market, and they upgrade from there, agree to the terms and conditions, and that's whenever that monthly fee will start. Okay. If they're already on the Pro plan, nothing changes. All right. If they're on mobile, mini, or Station, for that matter, when they add Go, they don't need to do anything. It's perfectly fine. And there is no additional fee that gets billed to the Go users for it to be on Pro. All right. I've had that question come up quite a bit. Asking, you know, okay, so it's on Pro, there's no choice. Does that mean the merchant gets that same monthly Clover service fee like they do on Station or mobile and mini when they upgrade? The answer is no. Right? They're on Pro, and there's no additional Clover fee involved there. As far as sales resources, those are being worked on right now. You should be seeing those here fairly soon. We're hoping here within the next week we start seeing some of the marketing videos, sales sheets, those spec sheets. We'll have them available out there on My Agent Office and on MarketPoint. Clover.com and help.clover.com, you know, of course, being part of the Clover family, Go will have a place for support there on those sites as well. The link that you see here on the screen is a link that takes you out to the actual manufacturer of the reader. Yes, Ingenico did manufacture the reader, but it is branded as the Clover Go reader. But that website, that link will show you which devices that reader works with today. All right. Like I said, it's not so much device dependent as it is the operating system that it will work with. But if you're interested, you want to make sure that list, you know, there's the link for it. You can even send that to the merchant if they, you know, you want to have them take a look at, if they're planning on purchasing some devices for Clover Go and they want to make sure they're making the right choices there. Demo videos are coming soon. Also, frequently asked questions is in the works there as well. All right. So we have our last knowledge check here real quick, guys. I'll let you read through this. It's another true or false question. And this one has to do with that whole concept of what if I have a mobile or mini merchant and they want Clover Go? What would have to happen here? What's going to happen? Very end. So let's talk about the boarding and activation process, all right? This is a highlight or a summary of what that boarding and activation process looks like. So when you guys go out there and sell Clover Go, you can give this expectation to the merchant as to what's going to happen next, which is another document that's in the works and you guys should have available to you, be able to hand off to a merchant. But this is for us to know exactly what happens. Step one is to board our merchants, all right? We'll be able to do this on the paper app and on Rolla. In fact, on the paper application today, you can see here, it's already available, all right? It's already actually, we've already got some fields ready to go for Clover Go. That was introduced to us back at the end of August in preparation for the Clover Go release, all right? Now remember, we can't submit these applications and get this process started until the official release date, which is September 12th, in a few days here. But here's an example of what it will look like on the paper application. Quantity is 1. Category is software. Equipment name is Clover Go. This will be on Nashville, and it's customer owned. All right? And the reason why quantity is 1 is I don't want you guys, or you don't feel responsible to ask the merchant how many devices do you plan to download this onto, because it doesn't matter. All right? You don't have to list those out. They can do it. You know, they can load it onto as many devices as they'd like. On Rolla, all right, you guys won't see this in the Rolla application yet. This will actually get turned on, and you'll be able to see these options within the Rolla application coming up on the 12th. The application in Rolla will start off as a new application. Right? When you get to the equipment section, you'll choose software, Clover Go, and once again, this will be customer owned. And like you saw on the paper app, the quantity will be 1. Now, from that point on, before I go into what happens next, also want to review over the pricing aspect. $11.20 per month, that is the minimum merchant pricing, and it is also your agent buy rate. You guys can mark that up as you see fit. You know, if it's one device, you know, you guys have some flexibility there on what you want to do with the pricing. But if a merchant says, well, I'm going to load this onto 50 devices, you can kind of play around with that number as you see fit there. The EMV reader will be something you can order right off of the shopping cart. Agent pricing there you'll see is $37.45. One thing to note about the card readers, they are not serialized, and therefore there are no card tags or swaps allowed. This also means that you guys can order as many as you'd like and build your own inventory. This is very similar to what you guys were able to do with the First Data Mobile Pay readers. Now, as far as the mobile services fee, there is a screenshot of what it looks like on the paper application down below, and that went live, like I said, back at the end of August. So it was there already, ready to go for us. In Rolla, once again, that'll go live on the 12th. And I want to point out also that you might get this question, you know, when you're working with your merchants, or it says, you know, monthly mobile service fee per device. All right, that was sort of a typo when the applications were created for the last revision. We're going to fix that on the next version here coming up in November. But explain to your merchant that that means per merchant account that monthly fee will apply. They can bring as many devices as they want. So it's not $11.20 if they have, you know, 5 iPhones that you're going to load this into. We're not going to multiply that by 5. All right, it's going to be per merchant account. And that might make more sense or be more important for that hair salon where they got, you know, each stylist wants their own account. Okay, each stylist will then have that $11.20 because they have their own merchant account, right, if that's the way they want it. But, you know, merchant can have up to 1,000 devices on there, and it'll still be $11.20 per month for the Clover Go access. All right, once you guys get your merchants boarded, they're going to get some welcome emails. The first one's going to just walk them through where to download the app and how to go in and get the configuration set up. As far as configuring, they'll go through and do a few things to get the application set up and running. Before they do that, though, they do want to go in and verify their email and set up their password. All right, that'll be the second email that gets sent out to the merchant. Once they do that, they can log in now to Clover.com. They can log into the web dashboard. They can go in and into the setup app, and this is where they can go in and set up if they want the tip feature on. How do they want the tips to show up? Do they want 10, 15, 18%, whatever that is? They can do that. They can go in and set up their inventory, of course, their employees. They can do that at any time, though. They don't have to do it right now, but hopefully they'll go in and start doing that when they're ready to start accepting transactions. And then the last part of the activation process is to download the app and log in for the first time. And also, as a reminder, just making sure everybody knows about what's happening with First Data Mobile Pay. Any communications have started going out, but if you didn't know by now, I'm sorry to say that a few days ago, as of September 8th, First Data Mobile Pay cannot be boarded for new merchants. Okay. Now, for those First Data Mobile Pay users that are out there today, all right, merchants that you may have already boarded on First Data Mobile Pay, they're okay for now. Right? Nothing's changing for those folks unless you guys want to go out and sell them with Clover Go. That's up to you guys. But for those that are already using the mobile pay, nothing changes for them until mid-October. All right, you guys, there was some communications that went out there. There's 2 memos actually out there on my agent office today that were submitted out there or made available on August 31st. One of those detailed out the training dates for these sessions. The other was detailing out what happens for our current mobile pay merchants. And in there, it mentions that there will be a swap process. Merchants will get communications and letting them know here's how they're going to swap out their current mobile pay reader for the new Clover Go reader. So existing merchants will be taken care of there. The rest of these timelines, a lot of these have already happened as well. Mobile pay being removed from all of our boarding pools, existing program codes, that's coming up here in the next few days. And then, like I said, on the 12th, Clover Go is live. All right. So that is really everything that we have for you guys today in covering over Clover Go.